Priyanka is also joining us from Ahmedabad. Priyanka, the Prime Minister and his mother, Heeraben Modi, they shared a bond that was very evident from all of their interactions that we'd see. They'd always be chatting with each other. She would often give him blessings. It was a quintessential mother-son kind of bond. How do you remember it? You've followed them both for many years now. How do you remember it?
Well, that's right, Ankit. Very rightly you've put it, because every time that we would see that a big event that would take place, or if the Prime Minister comes to Gujarat as well, he would make it a point to visit Raisana village first, to visit his mother's home first. Heeraben Modi's, as you pointed out, she stays with her son's family as well, Narendra Bhai Modi's brother's family, and the entire family, in fact, is very close to the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But we usually see that every time that he visits the house in Raisana village, there are a few moments, personal moments that are shared with the Prime Minister and Heeraben Modi as well. Then be it in the latest images that we saw of during the Gujarat elections, Ankit, if you would remember, when the Prime Minister had come to Gujarat right after winning the Gujarat elections as well, and even prior to the elections. We saw during the elections as well, when the Prime Minister had been making marathon rallies in Gujarat, even after completing 4 to 5 rallies in a day around North Gujarat and then coming back to Gandhinagar. But we saw those images that right after those rallies, the Prime Minister made it a point to visit Heeraben Modi as well. So that really shows us the kind of bond that the Prime Minister really shared with his mother. And because in the times of stress, in the times of the elections as well, that he had been visiting her, but even after elections, we saw those light moments that the Prime Minister shared with his mother, when his mother, in fact, Heeraben Modi, had been feeding sweets to the Prime Minister, celebrating the victory of the Gujarat elections. And not just Gujarat elections, Ankit. Remember, all elections, during any elections victory that the BJP has had, we see two images of the BJP's victory. One, of course, is the Prime Minister at the BJP headquarters there in New Delhi, and the second with the Prime Minister and Heeraben Modi. So these images we usually see of the Prime Minister, and we see those kind of the kind of conversations, the kind of moments the Prime Minister really shared with his mother after these victories that we saw those images of. Then it would either be Heeraben Modi, feeding the Prime Minister some kind of sweets, celebrating the victory of the BJP. So these kind of images we have usually seen. And that really tells us the kind of bond that the Prime Minister really had with his mother, Heeraben Modi, as well, and with the rest of the family as well. You would remember, Ankit, if I could speak about the recent events of the Gujarat elections, when the Prime Minister had come to cast his vote in Gujarat, in Ranip area as well of the Sabarmati constituency. He had made it a point to go to visit his brother Somabhai Modi as well. So that essentially really shows us how the Prime Minister had been extremely close to his family. Even now, after him becoming the Prime Minister, he makes it a point that every time he comes to his home state in Gujarat, to Gandhinagar, to Ahmedabad, he makes it a point to visit his family. But more often than not, we usually see him making a point to meet his mother as well. So these images that we have usually seen of the Prime Minister and the mother, as you pointed out, a quintessential bond that we see between a mother and son. And that's exactly what we saw in Heeraben Modi and the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, speaking about Heeraben Modi specifically, Ankit, she herself had also her own, kind of a following here as well. There were people who used to visit her. There were people who used to idolize her, still idolize her as well. Remember that once again, speaking about the Gujarat elections, because that is when we had seen her the most outside of her house, Ankit, because of course she had been extremely old. She was 99 years old during the time of the Gujarat elections as well, when she had come out to cast her vote. Remember those images? If we could also put out those images of Heeraben Modi on 5th of December this 5th of December, in fact, just a few weeks ago, when she had come out to cast her vote, and she had of course become an image of somebody who was so old, but even then was making a point to come out and vote, and she had also been imploring everybody to come out and vote. And this was really the kind of nature of Heeraben Modi as well, because every election, every time something like this happened, we saw those images of Heeraben Modi coming out and speaking to the people, speaking to the youth, of course. And also now we see Heeraben Modi, who had, of course, been extremely been suffering through a lot of health issues as well, with which then we sadly see her admitted in the UN Mehta Hospital just 48 hours ago. And Ankit, it has been an extreme shock for everybody here, especially here in Ahmedabad, specifically also the entire government machinery, because we saw 48 hours ago the chief minister had been present here, the cabinet ministers had been present here, various union ministers and leaders, in fact, who have been close to the prime minister and the prime minister's family, had been present here to pay their respects to Heeraben Modi when she had been admitted. And post that, they had said that she had stabilized, and the doctors and time again stated that she has been stabilized and she is recovering and there is nothing to be worried about, and that she has nothing life-threatening that she is facing right now because of her condition. And even then, we see 48 hours later, the nation, in fact, waking up to this very shocking news, because till last night, Ankit, the doctors inside had been saying, the medical bulletins had been saying that Heeraben Modi has been recovering, she's stabilized. In fact, she's only in the hospital and she's only being kept under observation. She has not been, she's not even having any kind of surgery, any kind of other treatment as well. Since then, the doctors had been stating that she had stabilized till late last night. But of course, by 3:30 a.m., in the wee hours of the morning today, we see that Heeraben Modi had passed away. So of course, a very, very shocking news really for everybody here, and specifically people who had been here, who had been in touch with her family, who had been in touch with the medical staff as well, because nobody had really expected this. We had seen those images, Ankit, you would remember, of just 48 hours ago, when the Prime Minister had arrived at the UN Mehta Hospital. He had gone in and met with Heeraben Modi. He had met with the doctors. He had spoken to the doctors, tried to understand what her medical condition had been, what really she had been facing, how could she be recovering, what can be the precautions taken for her health in the futuristically as well. So these were some of the images that we saw of the Prime Minister speaking with the doctors as well of Heeraben Modi. And then we saw the Prime Minister leaving from the hospital, and we saw in fact a very relaxed Prime Minister leaving from the hospital, because we saw the images of the Prime Minister leaving from the hospital and glancing at the media, taking note of the media as well, because we had been camped out here, and not just the media, there had been several civilians that had gathered there who had been concerned about the Prime Minister's mother, who had been admitted in the hospital as well. So those images we had seen, and then we see that Heeraben Modi in fact has passed away. So a very shocking news that the nation had woken up to, and those are the kind of comments coming in, the kind of statements coming in, how people are paying their respects to Heeraben Modi as well, goes to show how much she had been loved, how much she had been, she had been followed, and how everybody in fact was concerned for Heeraben Modi's health as well. However, here we had been learning that there was nothing to be worried about, and that is why we had not really been expecting this kind of a news to have woken up to, Ankit. But as of now, going forward, where we are right now, of course, is also where just a few minutes ago we had seen Heeraben Modi's mortal remains being taken from the UN Mehta Hospital, being taken to Raisin village as well, to her house, where the last rites will be further be taken over from. And of course, the Prime Minister Modi will be arriving at her house as well. The entire family will be there, and of course, we are being told that the Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel, along with several other ministers, will be present there as well.